All right, so first thing is I raised it up with the trim so I could get the little lock up so I can let her back down and get this cover off. Because this boat, he had the crazy looking something he made out of PVC here. So you could keep the cover on, which is a good thing. It's always been kept up very well. I love the condition of this boat. So it has this little piece here, and he puts a towel here on the motor, and when the motor's up at the resting place on that lock, it sits right at this. So we're just going to go ahead and unlatch this bad boy. Lift this cover up off it. Right, once again, absolutely love the condition of this engine, how good a care he took of it. Kept it in really nice shape. Very low hours. So we're going to go ahead and let it on down. Still got room at the ground there. We're going to get her down because I have to go in and get the shift linkage unhooked. Okay, so we got to get this cover off here. It's pretty wild. I've never seen this before. You just undo these little, almost like bungees set up on it. And then she should pull off. Pops loose there, but looks like I got a couple vacuum lines to undo. Alright, it's getting a little dark out here, but I am taking this cover off. Just has 4 little 10mm hidden right here. Not really hid, just 2 in the front here. One of them is underneath there, and then over here this little cover just has a Phillips or flathead screw. And I was able to take that little just little cotter pin out right here out of this one. You can kind of reach through the side here. Now if I wanted to undo this 10mm right here, that would unrelease these cables and just take this one out and the one down there. Able to get that pin out. It's a big clip and lay that there. Now I'm hoping what I can do is I'm going to try to, sorry about all this y'all with the camera, but I'm trying to get it. Let's see if this one will push over. And get it off of the shift linkage, but I don't think it's going to allow me to. I was hoping that would work on this one. The older models you can. Makes it a lot easier than having to go down in the middle there and try to undo that shift mechanism there. I really didn't want to have to do that, but it looks like I may have to. So I undid that little 10mm clamp there. I slid my lines out. Now I'm not going to mess with the adjustments here. I'm just going to set it over to the side. And then this should allow me, yes, I can undo this whole half of the engine cover here. And that just gives me a lot more room to work over here on this shifter setup there. We have to get inside there. So that definitely opens up a lot more room. Alright, so now I tilted the motor all the way up. Now its shift linkage is unhooked, which is going to be your trickiest part. And then pay attention if it has the fin on here. Some diodes or anodes are flat. This one does have the little fin. It helps the boat track. Now you could take a Sharpie or something, put a little mark here if you want. And that way you know when you're putting it back on. But this one I can see it's just a little to the left of this. So I know this side of it is lined up with the center. So we'll be good to go. Take my 7/16 and break this loose. And then we got another bolt up in here hiding. We're going to undo this one. It's 5/8. And this one right beside it, as you can see, is just for this little anode here, so we don't have to undo that one. It's going to come down with the lower unit. And then we got 4 of them, 2 on each side. These are 9/16. We're going to undo those. See if I can show you the one hiding up in here. That's it right there. It's a 9/16. Take my ratchet and extension. Get her broke loose. If you got a deep socket, that may work. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out. Okay, I broke these 9/16 loose. I actually took the two bottom ones out. I loosened these a little. I broke this 5/8 loose. I'm going to go ahead and zip it out real quick. And as soon as I undid this one, I heard it kind of crack and pop, like it separated just a hair because I already had these loose. Just take that one out. Now on these, I broke them loose with the ratchet, but now I'm using a ratchet wrench because you don't have enough room with this to be able to get a socket and ratchet there. So I'm just going to zip this one on out. I got it loose some. I'm going to go ahead and get this one all the way out. Now we have only got the one holding it together. Okay. Now I can go ahead and finish taking this one all the way out. Now, I may have to go grab my rubber mallet, give it a couple smacks. I wouldn't recommend hitting it right on this ear or anything right here because it could break off. We want to catch it, don't let it fall. There we go. Smacky! Smacky! So get her loose like that. You can see it drop down. I can feel that the shift linkage is not holding it, thankfully. Keep everything nice and straight. Don't let it bend it. And put her in the stand. Okay, so that's how you remove it. Now I happen to have a little stand made up because I'm always working on out drives. It'll hold these smaller ones too. I'm usually doing full-size Mercruiser stuff, you know, inboard, outboard. All right, next I went around and zipped these out. They're 11mm or 7/16. Just zipped them on out. I got a magnet tray over here. Even though everything is stainless, it's not going to stick, but it's still just something to keep them in so they don't get lost. Now I've got this loose and I can break it loose like that. And I've got the shaft cleaned up so it doesn't hurt anything coming up. I want to make sure I come up with it and pay attention to the impeller. I want to keep it in there so I can see which way it's going. And that way I know I put the next one on the correct way. Now this thing looks really good. I like that. You can reach in and move it like that. They're nice and soft. Nothing's hard, brittle. It's not brittle and it's not cracked anywhere. I don't see any cracks on the fins. I'm not going to lie. I could put this back in there and roll with it, but I'm not going to do that. But, yeah. Now this is the little slot for the keyway. And that's over on the back side of the shaft here. Make sure you get that off. And it can only go on there one way. It's not like the Mercruiser. It's got to be this way so it catches that lip there. So it can only go that one direction. I don't want to lose anything, but the kit does come with a new one anyway. And the new impeller. Now this one, again, you could get away with just doing an impeller on this. This casing is not extremely bad or anything. I don't see any wear marks on this section here. That's good. Nice and smooth. And even here, it's still nice and smooth. It might have wore a little bit of the coating off or something, but that's fine. and the O-ring is definitely flat. But since this is just plastic anyway, and I have no idea when the last time it was changed, so we're going to go back with the new setup. And then you got an O-ring down here on the shaft. Go ahead and get that up. Slide it up the shaft here. That's why I said you want to get the shaft as clean as you can. If you got any debris or buildup or any of that stuff on it, rust or corrosion, sand and dirt, any of that, get it as good as you can. Now this one, I'm going to pop this gasket up, slide it up. This is the metal gasket. It's got rubber coating on it, so it seals. Actually, I think it's going to have a paper gasket. Yeah, it has a paper gasket on the bottom. Some of it's stuck to the lower unit here. I'm going to go ahead and take a scrape blade and scrape that off. You could use a razor or whatever you got. Just scrape all this stuff off there. I'm going to try not to get it all down in here. This one's the exhaust. It's not as important, but I don't want to get it all around the pump because I don't want the water coming in to ruin the new impeller, which I'm sure everybody takes their boat, gets it in low or dirty, murky water and stuff like that. If you're in salt water or anything, and even though this boat was in Florida a lot of its life, he never put it in the salt water. That last video, or one of the other videos you might have seen me, where we took the boat, this particular sea nymph, over to Crystal River and Three Sisters Springs to see the manatees. That was the closest to salt water it's ever been in. And I flushed it, of course, as soon as I got it out and brought it home. That was one of the first things. I always flush it. That was kind of brackish water anyway, but still. And all that water's dirty and got a lot of silt and sand and whatever floating in it. And so these impellers take a beating. That's why they recommend you replace them every year, really, if you do a lot of usage with your boat, or if you know you've been in somewhere extremely dirty. Okay. So now I'll just take the air hose and blow that out. I'm not going to mess with this lower part here. The seal is still nice. I don't see anything where it's been trying to leak or anything like that. Give it a little shot of WD to keep that lubed up. Because that's what's holding your gear lube in the lower unit there. So I blew everything off. I'm going to give that shift shaft just a little shot there. That way we can keep it nice and smooth operating. Here goes my repair kit, water pump replacement kit. I got this right off of eBay for a very inexpensive price. So we've got our little bag of seals here, the paper gasket for the bottom, and it's even got this assembly for over here, but I'm not sure if I'm even going to change it or not. And there goes the new little keyway for the impeller in there. Now we've got this whole assembly here with the new metal piece in it, new plastic housing, and this assembly here, we're going to have to get it bolted on there, and that's where that other seal goes, is inside here. So what we'll do is match everything up with the old parts, make sure it's the same, that everything looks good. We've got our new impeller, and as you can see, the difference in the blades here, these are bent from being in there so long. Like I said, at least they're somewhat flexible, but they're kind of hard and stiff. It has not straightened out. These are real nice and soft, and they'll just do a lot better job creating that cavitation or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure what you call that. We wanted to pump water through the motor. Comes with the new screws and stuff for it, and we've got our metal plate here. All right, so we are good to go. And we just got to make sure that's pushed in good. And we got to put our rubber O-ring in this groove here. Sometimes if it doesn't want to stay, I use some Vaseline, put a little dab in there every so often, and that'll hold it in there nice. I usually take and put a really thin coat in here just for that first initial start up. It doesn't, you never want this to turn and start when it's dry. That's what it wears these edges off real bad and creates heat and damages everything. All right, so we got the new housing. This little rubber bushing needs to go down into here because it's gonna, this is actually like a guide is what it is. So when we put the foot back onto the engine, there's another tube that this is going to line up with. It goes all the way down into that rubber sleeve there. So we want to have this in place. Get my 2 screws. They gave me Phillips on this one. The other one was flathead. Let me grab it. Now I'm going to leave these loose. I got to remember to tighten them, but I think what I'm going to do is slide it down the shaft first in case this ain't, see it's got a lot of movement and I'm not sure. I don't want it to hurt anything, wear anything prematurely. Now this one goes on, let's see, it's supposed to go on here. It's going to be like this one is. As you can see, it's slid over it. So I guess I'm just going to have to stretch it a little, or a lot. Got to stretch that baby. Okay. Oops. Get this thing opened up here. Yeah, that little stand I got, sorry for all the movement and shaking there, y'all. It's probably not the very best stand, but it works. But every time I shake the table, it's making it move. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of make sure I got it lined up. I can see it was on there this way. So I'm going to drop it on this way. But I need to do this gasket first. Looks like it's going to be like that. Okay. Like so. Now I need the O-ring. I wanted to match it up with the other one. It is going to be this fatter one here. Give it a little shot of WD. Okay, slide it all the way down to the plate. Next, I'm going to get the little keyway in there. See how it's got this flat side on here. Take just a little dab of the Vaseline and put that on there and it'll hold it in place. I'll get the new key. Now, here goes the other tricky part. What I'm going to do, I got to make sure this is up in there good. It's not sitting flush like the other one was. I guess because there's a little tab right here and it's got to go in that hole there, I guess. Okay, so now it's in there pretty flat. Okay, so it is this way, counterclock. It would, let's see, Yeah, I want to do it this way. I don't want to get myself mixed up. So, again, let me get just a little bit of this. Put the Vaseline in here, real thin around it. Just something to get it where it ain't going to be dry when it first starts spinning. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Where'd you learn to do that, she said. All right, and then we're going to get this to go in there magically. Come on, girl, get in there. Get in there without tearing up. Okay. So we're doing it like that. Now we got her in. And I can see I got the key lined up about like this. So I can spin this a little more like so. The key ledge groove is going to be this way. So I want to transfer it over just like this. Stick it on here. Now let me slide this down. Yeah, this one's not as easy as the Mercury's, or Mercury, the one. But we're going to get it. Just got to figure out. There she goes. Okay. Alrighty then. So now, I've got to take my screws. I'm going to try to get this stuff lined up. See, right now that impeller is still fresh. It doesn't have form to it like this, where it's been stuck in there so long. So it's kind of, it's oblonged anyway, so it creates more pressure. So we got to get everything lined up, and then it'll relax itself. But I want to get all these started. Make sure I'm going through the gasket the right way, getting it all centered up. Like so. Maybe give her a little spin. That helped it sit down. It wasn't sitting flush till I gave it a little spinny spin, and now she is. All right. What else? Oh my God. Dummy me. I gotta lift it back up. I forgot the O-ring. If I would have just did it from the first time. All right, now see, it stayed down on there this time. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to leave it like that. And tell you what, I want to pop this one out. I want to see if there was a O-ring under that. Come on out of there. You come on out of there. Yeah, there is no ring under there. Now see, I haven't done one of these Johnsons. We're learning together, folks. There is no ring right here in this groove. So I'm glad I just took it all back apart and realized that. It's going to be this one right here. Okay, and I can see it's a very loose fit. So I'm going to, again, take a little of this magical petroleum jelly. You just stick a little bit there in that groove. and she'll thank you for it. Now it'll hold that O-ring in place now, y'all. Know what I mean? So I can take that, stick it in there. Now I can hold it upside down, do all that good stuff, and guess what? She's still in there. So now I'm going to take a little more, go around this in a couple spots. Get it in that groove. We're going to get it in the groove there, y'all. That's groovy. Okay. Take this one. Get it fitted in the groove there. Like so. Which is kind of crazy how it doesn't have much of a groove there. What I'm going to do is give it a little stretch. Okay. Now she's sitting over there. It's cold out here. It shrunk. It got smaller. That's a problem sometimes. I'm sure you can relate with me on that one. So anyway, there we go. We got her snug back down. This time we got all the O-rings where they belong. Let's try this one more time. Hopefully the last time. Get these in here. Like so. Hold it in place. Give it a little shaky shake. Make sure everything is seated good. Give the shaft a spin. Make sure it's got everything reset. Okay. Just torque them on down good like that. As you can see, it's got metal crush sleeves in here, so it won't hurt the plastic. It's just going to be nice and settled down. Give it a turn again, make sure everything is good. Now I'm going to have this just kind of centered on up, because I don't want to hit in the shaft, eating any kind of groove or any of that stuff. So we got it right there, and now we're going to snug it. Okay. All right, that's that. Got her tightened on down. Okay. Okay, so we got our foot back on our 90 horse Johnson. And of course, I really didn't video that. There's not much to show. Just insert it straight in. I had the outdrive tilted all the way up. You just don't want to bend any of your shafts or anything, so put it up in there straight, stick your 9/16 in, at least get one of them started. Took my ratchet wrench, tightened it down, didn't actually tighten it, just kind of kept it to where there was a small gap where I could start my other 3 bolts. So there's 4 of these total. Tighten them, you know, not till the end. You got your one under here, and then there's one hidden behind here. I went ahead and put this back in. If you have yours marked, that's good. Like I said, I already knew where mine was. So I've got everything tight there. And I came back around, and what I did was I wanted to try to show you what I was doing here with the forward and reverse linkage. This is the rod coming up. I made sure that it was in the all the way up position. This is the pin that I already had out, because this lever, I had it down and slid over, pushed over. And what that allowed me to do is this assembly right here. Some people go in here and undo this. I think that would be a real pain in the butt, especially on this particular model. Now, there may be other options, other years that don't have all this crap in the way. This one does. I'm not about to undo all that.
what it does is when you pull this out, it allows you to push the shaft over, and it unhooks the linkage rod there. The rod only has a little hole in it. Now on the other end of this, there's a little stud sticking through. So when you push the rod backwards, it pushes the stud back and releases. It lets loose of this. So now that I have it hooked up, you can see, try to show you in there, it moves up and down. You can see that assembly back there. And what it is, what it does back here, I had the rod slid all the way over, took my needle nose, moved this around while I'm jiggling and pulling on this to get it to line up, and it slid through. And once I knew it was locked, slide it all the way through. I did put some Vaseline on this side. There's a plastic bush in there. All this is lubed up pretty well still. And then you make sure your washer's on this side of the pin, because that's got a spring-loaded piece behind it. And then just push your pin in. Boom, now we're locked. So everything is working there on the forward and reverse. That'll, you know, disengage the prop. Right now it's in gear. I can put it in neutral, put it in forward, it'll be locked again, put it back in neutral. All right, so now when I go back and I hook all my linkages up, everything will be lined up where it needed to be. And I'll be able to, well, you'll see in a few. So I put her all back together, y'all. And if you haven't noticed, I got sick. I started this one day last week. It doesn't take long at all. I was doing it that evening in there on the stand. And that night I got sick, and I have been sick almost a week now. So I finally come back out and threw the foot back on the motor. It's not a very hard job at all. Just, like I said, unfortunately for me. But anyway, this video is going to work on various different horsepowers. I would say from 50 on up to 120 is going to be the exact same. This is a 90. But of course, in general, it's the same on a lot of different Johnson and Evinrude outboard motors. So if you like what you've seen, give us a thumbs up. I hope you've already subscribed to the channel. If you didn't, please do that so you can stay track of all the upcoming videos and even some of the old videos I have. We're always doing something different around here. I don't like getting in the same boring stuff all the time. Too repetitious for me. So anyway, this is the little sea nymph. You've probably seen some of the other videos. If you haven't, go check her out. Like where we went for the manatee hunt. Anyway, this one's going to make a nice little fishing boat for somebody. They're going to be a happy camper soon. She will be up for sale. All right.